audience. So if you don't mind, we're just going to go through the panelists. Tell us a little bit about what area of the country you're from, how many sales you completed in 2020, and what you're on track for this year. Why don't we start with you, Brian?
Fantastic. So I'm in the Northern Virginia market, right outside of Washington, D.C. Been in the business for almost 20 years. Last year, we closed 35 transactions. Primarily, it's just myself and my wife, Diane. Diane is a admin and showing agent, and this year we're on track for 70. And yeah, we're pretty excited. It's been a pretty awesome year, and we reset some goals, and we have one real estate coach, and then we just hired a second real estate coach, and it's making a dramatic impact on our business and our numbers. So we're pretty excited.
That's awesome, man. How long you been with EXP?
I've been with EXP since November 2018.
Awesome, dude. All right, cool. And so Jeff, let's go over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. Jeff McIntyre. I've been in the real estate business for 17 years. Been with EXP for about 3.5 years now. I'm in a rural market in Michigan, in between Flint and Lansing. My market consists of about 70,000 residents, and 70 to 100,000, I guess, if I stretch out a little bit. I have a small team. I have myself as lead listing agent. I have 2 buyers agents and an admin that serves as a closing coordinator and a listing coordinator. We typically do in between 50 and 70 units a year. Last year we closed, I think it was 54 was the number. We're looking at hitting 65 to 70 this year. And primarily residential. Our average sale price here in my entire market is about 100,000.
Okay.
And our team is averaging right around that same average, about 140 to 150,000. I also believe in coaching. I am currently coached by Workman Success Systems. Accountability is a huge part of that, but really just some operational focus, putting some processes in place, some accounting that levels I didn't have before. So, and I believe in what EXP has going on as far as collaboration. It's an incredible opportunity to talk to agents who are doing or have already done what I'm trying to do. And I obviously love the opportunity to talk to agents that are trying to do what I'm doing.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So I know it's not Steven. Is it
Karen?
Karen. Thanks for joining
us.
I
know I'm going to confuse
Karen, let me know.
I'm going to keep you on your toes. Yeah. So my name is Karen. My name is Karen Vomero. I am in the Tampa Bay, Florida market. I have been in the business 23 years. Had a team early on in my for half of the time when the market crashed in 2009. Pretty much segued into being an individual agent, which I've been since then. So last year I sold about 46 units, totaling about 12 million in volume. This year so far, I've already had 40 sales for a total of about 16 million. So obviously this is a very good year with the crazy market out there, right?
On a Thursday, Friday, and then they had multiple offers by Saturday, Sunday. And what we're seeing right now is things are starting to cool off a little bit. Seeing days on market going up. We're starting to get closing costs for our clients again, which is very interesting. And my outlook for the rest of 2021 is I think we have to be very cautious on how we, from a listing standpoint, you got to be very cautious on how, as far as listing property and what price that you're going to list a home at. I think if you tell the sellers that, you know, the real estate market's kind of like Elon Musk's business, and it's a SpaceX and there's no end in sight, I think that is the wrong approach. What we've been doing is we've been pricing properties at fair market value or just below fair market value, and they sell anywhere from 20 to 100,000 above. We had one property that we priced a little high, and guess what? Yours truly is doing a price reduction in 2 weeks. So I learned a lesson very quickly. So those dynamics are very, very important to pay very close attention to. What I tell, what my coaches tell me, pay attention to the numbers. Know your statistics inside your local market. In other words, number of homes on the market, number of new actives, number of coming soons, number of pendings. You know, what's the absorption rate? How long are homes staying on the market? We're seeing them stay on the market longer than we saw several months ago. And I think that, David, this trend is going to continue into 2021, where pricing property is going to be super important. And I had a coaching call with my coach, Don Hobbs. He's the president of Success Magazine yesterday. And we were talking about how it's super important that if you've got extra things that you're paying for and you're not utilizing them in business and in your personal life, you need to reel those expenses in, because we're going to start seeing some really interesting things in the marketplace. And that's one of the things that we talked about, was reducing our expenses.
The cat's going to someone else.
Hey, thanks so much, Brian. Hey, Robin, I see you in the back there. Come on down to the stage. I see you.
Hey,
Come on
I'm
up.
trying to doing some
No
technology.
problem. Just hit your escape key and then walk around. You should be able to do that. All right. Thanks so much, Brian. Really appreciate that, dude. And thanks for sharing who your coach was. There was someone in the audience who was asking about that. And so that's really cool. I think it was Erica Parker. She's from Houston. So thanks for sharing that. All right, Karen, do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself? What's happening in your market right now? What do you think is going to happen for the rest of the year and then into Q1 of 2022?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, you know, I'm in Florida and I'm in the Tampa Bay area. So we have the weather, the beaches. I personally, in my market, am not seeing that much of a slowdown. Now, there are pockets of areas that maybe we're seeing a little bit longer on the market, but I'm really not seeing price reductions yet. And I'm still getting multiple offers on listings as I list them. So it's hard to say. I am also cautious when pricing listings. I am always looking at the active listings in addition to the pending listings, not only the sold, when I'm doing my ultimate CMA. So that, that way you're seeing, okay, what's the competition? How long does that stand on the market? What does it look like inside? So you really have to know your market intimately. As far as the rest of 2021 in our area, I really don't see that much of a difference. We're still experiencing extremely tight inventory and a plethora of buyers that are still competing for, to try and get a home. As far as the beginning of first quarter of 2022, again, that's usually our very busy market in the Tampa Bay area, where we do have a lot of snowbirds coming here. So where it may not be the normal market for an area up north or otherwise, we still have a lot of people that are buying second homes and vacationing here. So I don't really see a slowdown that much in the beginning. Now, that being said, I'm always cautious because I've been in the business 23 years, and I'm not sure who was saying it previously, but my husband and I, prior to the 2009 or 2008 crash, we saw it coming. Well, I should say my husband saw it coming, and we kind of took a deep dive into our expenses, and we really tightened up a little bit. So all I would suggest, again, is know your market, understand where it's going, understand when the pullback the shift is going to occur, because it will occur. It just depends on what area. And then, and I agree, look at your expenses. And if you're not utilizing something or not, you're paying for something you're not using, like we all do, just slim it down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why so many agents, they don't just take the time to learn the product that they're absolutely selling, not only in their own area, but what's happening throughout the country. If you don't understand that, it's going to be really hard, because what you do is you help people buy and sell homes, but that is a market that's always connected to another market. So you don't have to be an expert in every other market, but you should be informed. That's why these conversations, that's why these ICONversations are so stinking important. It's because you get to hear what's happening from Florida to Michigan and Virginia and North Carolina. Hey, Jeff, we're going to go to you and then to Robin. What's happening throughout the rest of the year that you believe is happening 2021 in your market and then into Q1 of 2022?
Yeah, the rest of the year, I don't see us even leveling out here. We're typically a fair amount of time behind the national trends, especially in the major metro areas. So I see the rest of 21 staying high demand, and I guess that's the issue that I'm seeing even through 2022 is locally here. Our issue is inventory, and I'm sure that's the case in many locations, but we have such a disparity between such demand that even if demand the levels of demand go down, I don't see that impacting what goes on here, just because our major issue is the inventory. So I see 2022 being more of the same for us, potentially a leveling out by the third quarter. It just, again, we are so rural that there's actually, because of local ordinances, there's really not many developments available for new housing. And then the other issue for us is that the appraisals on new builds don't pan out for most people to be able to afford to build. So we have a kind of a double problem with that, in that we can't increase our available housing through building just because of the cost of materials and cost to build. I would absolutely agree with the folks that spoke before me in talking about knowing your market and knowing other markets. The big deal for us, knowing that we lag a little bit in the national or regional trends, it gives us an opportunity to see what's coming down the road for my local market, for sure, and being able to adjust to that. I'm not a huge promoter of watching other companies' business models or whatever, but if you have not read the book Shift, it's probably something by Gary Keller. It's probably something you need to be reading now, or maybe a year ago would have been a good time to start reading that book. But there are changes coming. That's inevitable. There's always a shift, and understanding how to react to it, or rather be proactive instead of reacting to it, can definitely save you, can potentially save your business. But I would also just say that you need to make sure that you have at least 4 channels of business, main sources that your business comes from, and give every one of those channels 100% effort, and set them up to each one of them to fulfill your goals.
Yep,
And
got that, man. Thank you so much for sharing that.
That's it.
Talk to us, Robin. What's happening for the rest of the year in North Carolina? What part of North Carolina are you in? And then if you could give us a little intro, just because you're on now, and we want to make sure everyone knows who you are.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We got you loud and clear.
All right, rock on. So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, licensed in North and South Carolina, $20 million producer, icon agent. Woohoo! I just did my second icon, so I'm pretty excited about that. And let's see. You want to know what's happening in the market. So
what's happening in the market to the end of the year and then into quarter 1 of 2022.
Yeah, so I think so for us down here in Charlotte, everyone seems to be moving here. Our inventory has slightly picked up, which has been an awesome scene, but we're still significantly behind. We're at like 2 weeks of inventory versus, a healthy market is 6 months. I saw a question on the chat about where do you find market stats? Just go look at your MLS. Like there's all kinds of cool stuff on there, market stats that you can learn. Hopefully you have a local realtor page where you can learn or speak to your EXP colleagues. But our market COVID did not, we didn't skip a beat. I had my best year, and I had thought, we'd be swinging into the fall in 2022 COVID free, and we are not. And so my anticipation is that we're just going to keep trucking. As fast as a house can get listed, we're going to get it sold. We have a lot of holds on new construction or people, doing highest and best even for lots here. So where we have slowed, like days when the markets have picked up a little bit, it's still hit or miss. Like we're still hot down here in North Carolina. So I'm jacked up about finishing out the rest of the year, and then keeping it pushing until through 2022. My best months are typically August and December. So
Wow, awesome.
This is my playtime. So I'm ready. Let's do it.
Cool. Hey, just a reminder to you guys, there's always questions getting dropped in the chat. So all you icons, while I'm talking to one of you guys who are up here, be sure if you're not speaking to check in that chat, because there's always people dropping questions. A couple of them are opinions about the REO market. They want to know about that, what's going on in your area, other sources of advertising beyond Zillow, and some best resources to learn about your local market. I saw that you just talked about that, Robin. That's awesome. Yes, jump onto your MLS, guys. There's usually a market reports section. Start picking them off from town to town or those around you, and start researching on that. And then also you can go to Google and look for latest developments and then for my town, Simsbury, Connecticut, you can certainly Google that and learn about what's moving in your area so you can be educated for your buyers and your sellers. All right, so next question. What's the best way that you have fostered relationships in EXP to encourage referrals? We have an amazing company. It is the fastest growing real estate company in the world. So you have opportunities all over the place. I saw from Bend, Oregon. I saw Houston. I saw North Carolina so far in the chat. Guys, share it up. There's some great people here. Like and follow these panelists and send them business and start to reciprocate. So Brian, what are you doing or propose to do throughout the end of the year in order to foster relationships with other EXP agents nationwide?
That's a really great question. But I do have to share with you that we actually have 3 pendings right now, and they're all referrals from KW, which who knows why, but we took them, right? And they're all pending. So as far as fostering relationships with EXP agents, obviously we're utilizing the technology, on Workplace and things like that. And we just got back from Dallas, Texas with Brent Gove and Tony Robbins. That was a pretty awesome event. And just the opportunity to, in other words, just meet more people. It's always, the technology we have is flipping amazing, as everybody knows. But there's nothing like having real FaceTime with other EXP agents that are outside your real estate market. Especially, with EXP Con coming up, do everything you can to get to that event and meet people. Go have lunch with people that you don't know. Go have dinner with people that you don't know. It's always easy to hang out with people that you do know, right? Well, the people that you already know, they're already going to give you referrals. So you got to cast that net even wider. And I think so far this year we've done, I believe, 11 transactions this year that were all just referrals. Again, 3 from a competitor, and the rest were just from other real estate agents, RE/MAX agents, and things like that. Now, with all fairness, I've spent almost 20 years in the business, and I think a lot of the other icons can attest to the same. Is that when you have the accumulation effect of being in the business for more than 10 years, 15 years. People that you do business with, whether they're with our company or other companies, and you've got good relationships with them, they're still going to refer you business. And we've seen that this year, and we continue to see it. Our referral business is a very big part of our business.
That's awesome, dude. 11 so far this year, just referrals. That speaks to your character as well, that people can trust you with their friends, family, referral partners, whatever. So awesome doing what you do. Karen, what do you got? How are you nurturing relationships and fostering that throughout EXP?
Yeah, great question also. So, this is interesting. When I first joined, obviously 3 years ago, what were we, like 8,000 realtors or something like that, beginning of 2018, and then we exploded. Initially it was a little easier to go into the workplace and develop relationships there. And there's actually an ICON agent in Florida she became an ICON agent because she fostered those relationships, and I watched her through workplace. And by doing, what you're doing is you're just on there and engaging. Now, granted, this takes time. It does, because you're in the workplace, you're answering questions, you're coming from a place of contribution and giving to people, and then they trust you, and then you start building relationships. So I did that for the first couple of years. And quite frankly, I had a lot of referrals. Then as we got larger, what I'm finding now is exactly what I think Brian said. I was also at the Dallas event. It's building personal relationships at these events. If you haven't gone to an EXP event or even an event locally, we do local ones with EXP in our Tampa Bay market. And it's just meeting people, getting to know them, seeing where their niche is, and just developing that relationship. Hey, if I can ever help you, or if you need a referral on a stager in this area, or a painter in this area. So just be open and come from a place of contribution, and just develop those relationships. That's how you're going to get, or at least that's what I have found works for me.
That's awesome. And how about you, Brian? What have you done? Or excuse me, I'm so sorry, Jeff. My apologies. Go ahead, Jeff. What have you done to nurture a relationship with EXP agents?
Well, it really is about coming from contribution and sharing something you might have to offer. Early on, when I first joined EXP, I had already been a user of Conversion and KV Core, as it's referred to with us. So one of the first things I did was offer some training to some agents that hadn't utilized that technology yet, primarily because I knew it was very powerful. Somebody just needed to be shown how to use it. And that really did foster quite a few relationships.
That's awesome, man. That's a great idea.
It's, again, if you have something, whether it's experience with KV Core or any of our other platforms, there are agents out there that don't have experience and don't have the knowledge. So share.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm posting in the chat here, who needs help with KV Core, right? Like, isn't that a cool thing that you could offer with people? Is like, hey man, can you show me how this awesome technology works? People at this company, and I've heard for other ones, look at this chat. Oh yeah, needs help. Like, go friend Jeff on Facebook. Like, go friend him. And oh, by the way, go send him a deal. Like, that's the coolest thing about this company and the great technology. But again, you can have all the access in the world to this technology, but if you don't know how to use it, or you don't know what you're doing with it, man, you got to reach out. It's only going to happen if you yourself take it on yourself to go learn from the teachers who already exist here. We got all the teachers in the classroom. You just got to show up and ask questions. All right, cool. Robin, how about with you? What are you doing?
I love to be in workplace. I think workplace is amazing, and go in there, welcome people, celebrate people, post, actually engage and post. I think just those simple things are important, and I like to do those. And then, can you do a brainstorming group or a mastermind group with someone? My area has a thing, or like my downline has a thing called Family Tree. We do a lot of stuff. So I think anyway, it's the same as everything else. Any way you can engage, if you can, go be on a 4-week accountability group with people, and you meet and y'all are from all over, then obviously you're going to build relationships, and you're going to see each other's face. And when something hits in that area, you're going to want to use them. So I think it's just about plugging in. Like, it could be easy to be with EXP and be like, I don't have an office. I don't know where anyone is. Well, we've got Workplace, we've got Work Chat, we've got, a gazillion groups. So, and we do opportunities for events if we can attend them. So, yeah, I just think it's, even if just when you walk into the world, there's 18 people standing beside you. Say hey to them. You know, like, where you from? What you doing? You know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, very cool. Love that. Best thing so far on that question, Rao. Jeff McIntyre, dude, you win the day, like king for the moment with that EXP KV core training, man. That's what people need. They really do need help with that because I hear it all the time. Yeah, it's cool, but then they end up using another CRM outside of what we have that's already there. So props to you, bro. All right, let's talk about the next round of questions. Topic 3, what are your best off-market solutions for buyers and sellers? Let's start with Robin, work backwards this time. And again, keep an eye on the chat. There's so many questions that are getting asked here. So Robin, best off-market solutions for buyers and sellers.
Best off-market solutions for buyers and sellers. Be
Yes.
prepared. Be prepared. So with sellers and with buyers, they got to be all in. Like have your down payment money. We have earnest money and due diligence money here. So have your money all ready. And then also just, don't even be for buyers, don't even be pre-qualified, be pre-approved. And if people don't know the difference, Q in the qualify means there's questions. A means they're approved. The A in approval means they're approved, meaning there's already answers. We know these people are solid. So when your people want to understand the difference between the two, tell them you need a pre-approval. The pre-qual from Quicken is great, but you need more. You need the full underwriting. So that would be my first step for buyers. And then for sellers, I would say the same thing in terms of let's be ready, because I don't think sellers, at least in this market, I've had several where I'm like, as soon as we hit go, your phones get ready to blow up. And take the weekend off, go away with the kids and the dogs, and be gone. And just it's going to sell. So really, truly, I guess for both of those, just be prepared, be ready to. If you're in this game to play it right now, you got quick action is going to be your key.
Awesome. That's good. That's great advice. Jeff, tell me what's going on in your market. How do you do on or off market, off market deals for buyers and sellers? What's your strategies there? And are maybe that's not even a thing, but is it a thing in your market?
Well, it is in the sense that when I engage the process with a seller, our motto or our angle is preparation, and we really help the sellers prepare the house for the market so that we can maximize their top dollar, get top dollar for them. The issue with waiting, taking 2, 3, 4 weeks sometimes to get on the market is that the seller has either identified an offer or a potential buyer, or we have already identified a good buyer for it. So there's been quite a few non-list sales for us this year, just matchmaking prior to these listings hitting the market. Of course, we have to be careful with off-market rules with our MLS rules and regs and the coming soon pocket listing, all that stuff going on. But the bottom line is we have a seller who wants to sell, and we have a buyer built in who wants to buy. So it's really just being a good matchmaker. If it's in the best interest of the client to find that buyer before it hits the market, or to have that buyer before it hits the market, then it's the best interest of the client. It's unfortunate on our end, we miss out on a lot of good marketing opportunities and opportunities to capture more leads, but we're finding that taking care of the client first is clearly the way to go. Off-market stuff, expireds, old expireds. We have to go back quite a few years now in my market to find expireds that didn't come back to the market, but that is one way we're matchmaking with our buyers that are having trouble finding something, or they're competing and they're getting tired of competing. I start, my team and myself start calling old expires that going back 5, 6 years, and just seeing if they want to revisit and find out what their position in the market is now.
That's an awesome idea. For you guys in the audience, that's a very, very, very good solution. Go back into your MLS and go ahead and search the expired range. So for ours, you can search number of days. Don't search the last just 365 days. They already experienced this market. Start and go 365 days and walk it back another 1,200 days from there. Because there's a lot of people who decided, I'm going to refinance, I'm going to get back into it. But you know what? They haven't even been paying attention. It's such a common thing in real estate to assume that everyone knows the real estate market the way that you do, but you're in it every single day. I tell people, and I extremize it all the time, I'm like, how familiar are you with the oil market and how that affects, the cost of driveway installations? They're like, what? I have no idea. I'm like, did you know driveways cost more right now? They're like, no, I had no idea. I'm like, that's because you're not in that market. Like, because if you were looking for a driveway, you would know. But until it's put one in, but until you're in that market, you're not going to understand. Same as with real estate. People can see it in the news, or they assume that they see it in the news, but your eye catches real estate whether you like it or not. But other people, it might not catch as quickly. So go back, talk to those guys who are expired a few years ago. It's a great way that you can, get some activity going. All right, Karen, how about you?
Yeah, thanks. I'm more on the line with Jeff as far as being a matchmaker. So I have a very specific hyper-local niche that I've been working for the past 20 years. So I have the luxury of knowing the other realtors. Well, let me take that back. It's not a luxury. It's something that I planned. I got to know all the realtors that sell in my area, in my neighborhood, and I have very, very good, strong relationships with them, and we respect one another. So here's a situation that happened this past March when I had a client. I was getting ready to put her home on the market, but she needed somewhere to go. So obviously with things selling so quickly, we knew that we had to find her a secured place prior to me listing her home. So what I did, I knew specifically where she wanted to go. We narrowed that down. And then I looked at, obviously I always go to like Zillow for like any for sale by owners and all the for sale by owner places. Then what I do is I picked up the phone and I called every single listing agent or realtor in my market. And I said, hey, this is what I'm looking for. You got something coming up? And ironically, one of, someone that I reached out to, a KW agent, John, he's like, Karen, he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm trying to get this listing. Maybe what we can do is work together, put a deal together, and you represent the buyer, I represent the seller, and we both did it for, we each took a reduced commission of 4%. So that gave him an opportunity to call the seller and say, Mr. Seller, let's get your place on the market. I have a buyer for you. And it gave me the opportunity to find something for my seller and then have the ability to list her home. So that's what I love being that matchmaker and finding that property. And it's about the customer. It wasn't about us listing that house for 6% or getting the higher commission. It's putting the deal together and where everyone wins in the end.
That's awesome, Karen. And obviously, Brian, let's ask you. How's things going for off-market buyers and sellers in your area?
Well, again, everything in our market right now, being about 30, 40 miles west of Washington, D.C., it always seems to be a bubble around D.C. Even though there's a lot of madness around D.C., it's still a bubble, right? Good bubble of real estate. So as far as all of our buyers, we make sure they're pre-qualified 100%. We just, matter of fact, we just had 2 transactions where we represented the buyers. We got both buyers fully underwritten, and they actually beat out escalations. One of them did of with a $20,000 escalation, and my guy. The high escalation was $430,000. We came in at $420. Asked for 10 in closing, and we won it only because our lender did a good job getting him fully underwritten, and the other buyer apparently was not fully underwritten at all. So having buyers fully underwritten in this market is really, really a smart thing to do. For sellers, as far as off-market deals, my goal is to be able to. As far as off-market deals, I don't really do any off-market deals. The consumers, the sellers out there, they know full well that prices are going through the stratosphere right now, and so my goal is to be able to price it at a price that's going to get a ton of foot traffic in the door, chumming the water, so to speak, and get multiple offers on the property and give it as much exposure as I can. Now, that being said, there's been several times where we listed a property and then, day one, we usually go on the market on a Thursday. So Thursday and Friday, the showings are kind of dribbling in, and then you start second guessing yourself. You're like, what the heck, man? Did we price this thing right? The drunk monkey starts jumping into the conversation. And, my wife, of course, is as great as she is, Diane. She goes, you need to give it time. I'm like, okay. And then, of course, day 3, offer after offer after offer after, and she's been right 100% of the time. She goes, you got to give us some market exposure, Brian. Sometimes we get so worked up that, oh man, we're going to have 45 or 50 showings, and you got to be careful about what you tell the client or the seller, because as this market slowly starts shifting, those type of activity and numbers, and again, certain pockets are going to continue seeing it, but I think pockets that are a little bit further away from metropolitan areas are going to start seeing things take a little bit more time, not a ton more time, but a little bit more time. So always make sure you set the right level of expectation, because if 2 weeks into it and you don't have an offer, your seller is going, did I hire the right agent, right? But as far as off-market deals, we don't really do much of that. We want to get as much as we possibly can for the seller at the end of the day.
Gotcha. And one thing that's been helpful in our market is understanding that every seller, definitely they value the price, but some sellers also value they value discretion and not having a for sale sign in their front lawn or being on Zillow. Sometimes sellers are valuing the fact that, I just want something that's quick and that can move easily, and they know that we're a resource for that. We have marketing that goes out to our clients because some of them just want to move the property and don't want to have to go through the process of showings, et cetera. And they only want a qualified 1 or 2 buyers coming in and taking a look. And they're willing to sacrifice sometimes, some pricing that's possible versus a sale that's more probable and on their terms. So it's just an advice for those who are in the audience and why that can be possible. All right, guys, we've got about 15 minutes left, the most. Want to go through one more round of questions here, and then I definitely want to answer any questions from the audience that we haven't already. Guys, starting with you, Brian, what's your number 1 agent attraction platform, event, technique, something where you are giving help to the other agents, co-brokes in the community that has been successful for you in your agent attraction?
That's a great question, David. And we are just now really getting into agent attraction. We've been with the company since 2018. We just hit our 3rd icon, and I've got a small handful of people. And one of the challenges that I've had to overcome is my mindset has always been production, transactional production. And after the event at Dallas and seeing some of the rev share, what some of these great real estate agents at EXP, what kind of residual income that they have is mind-boggling when you see it. And so over the last couple of weeks, we've been really getting our head together and accelerating our learning curve as far as the agent attraction. Because my wife and I were sitting here, last week we got COVID big time. Our whole family has it right now. I'm coming out of it. But what was interesting is my wife goes, so I think we have 9 or 10 pendings right now for September. And she says, you know what? We really need to take a look at this agent attraction thing much more serious than we have. And of course, if you're disabled or if you're sick or if you lose your ability to perform, the big question becomes, David, and I ask myself this question is, how much longer can you perform when you can't perform? Right?
That's for real one, man, right? Like, it's like when you're put out of commission on something, how are you supposed to continue to provide for your family when basically what we do every day is we exchange risk for reward because our jobs are so, right? Like, dude, like you got 9 pending in September. There's a risk that it could be 0. And because of that, you get paid handsomely to sell 9 houses in a month. But the risk of that is that you have 0. But then what happens? Is there any insurance? And this company does provide it. So keep going. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No, well, you're 100% right. And so, so November, so September, it's like, man, this is fantastic. All right, well, let's look at October. Well, October right now is crickets. right? The agent attraction is, man, I'm just so stoked about it. And I actually went on to the EXP website because I was hanging out with Brent Gove and we were talking, and I said, look, I need to master this rev share and understanding it and how it's really not thinking about myself, but thinking about all the other real estate agents that I know that are outside of EXP. Everybody is transactional, 100%. And one day it's going to stop, and then your income is going to stop. Then what do you do? This got me thinking very, very, yeah, this got me on a very, just a totally different mindset, David. And yeah, we're fired up about it. And you know, it's like AJ Mida says from Charlotte that, look, well, he's in Puerto Rico now, but it's like, this company is so great. Why are you not sharing it with everybody?
That's it, bro. That's it. Yep.
That's it, man.
Karen, what do you got for us? Best agent attraction resource that you've either taken a part of, events that you do, techniques. What is it?
So you know, for me, it was very hard in the beginning because when I joined, I had a couple people like kind of snub me. So, you know, you get that fear in your head, like that drunk monkey that someone was talking about. You know, what I have found and what I've learned from that, when I do transactions, because obviously my production is large, what's worked for me is just giving, you know, understanding the person on the other end of the transaction, the realtor. So when you're doing a transaction, you know, don't throw up EXP all over them. You know, just kind of figure out where, you know, hey, what's your, you know, if you had to rank your real estate business right now, how would you rank it on a scale of 1 to 10? Every single time people are going to say about 6 or 7. No one says a 10. Okay, what's going to make it a 10? I mean, figure out what their pain points are, because I guarantee you, if you pull apart the EXP business model, whoever you're speaking to on the other end, there's a solution with our business model that's going to help them. Hey, you know, let me just show you something. Are you open to taking a look at something? Are you open to having a cup of coffee? Are you opening up to, you know, having a, you know, a sit down and let me show you a few things. So really it's understanding the person that you're speaking to, because you know, like attracts like, we all hear this. People migrate to people that they feel a connection with. So you got to build that relationship first. If you're just doing a cold call, that's another way to do it, but that's going to be a little challenging. You know, there's a lot of agents out there right now that are trying to attract business, and there are some, especially in our area here in Florida, you know, that do the cold calling, and I'm just not a big fan of that. I think building the relationships and also having those relationships, I've actually had people come up to me, hey, Karen, can you tell me about EXP? And that's when it feels really good. So lunch and learns, we do lunch and learns, but instead of doing the lunch and learn like EXP explained, what we found is we're doing, hey, we're going to show you how to do free Facebook leads and get 30 leads a month for free doing Facebook ads, or not even the Facebook ads, but just how to do it on Facebook without spending money. So those are the things that we're doing. So on a monthly basis, you know, like we'll have, I have a hotel that I rent out in a room, and you know, we just invite everyone, and it's about giving. Again, I'm very big on coming from that place of contribution and giving something, because when you give out to the universe, it'll come back to you.
Thanks so much for sharing that. I think one of the best ways that, you know, you can help people is to actually help them, and you don't know what they need help with unless you actually ask them and care. It's like if you know, I've always learned that buyers, sellers, etc., are just like real estate agents. Everyone's got a problem, everyone's got an objection, everyone's got a guard up about something, but they definitely want to help. So just who is that speaking, Bonetta? That was Karen Vamaro, and she's from Florida. All right, next up, Jeff, if you don't mind telling us what's been your best way that you've been able to really help people with agent attraction.
Again, you know, it's about building relationships. I know that there's some systems out there that, can you hear me okay? It looks like my mic is struggling.
Yeah, I mean, you're good.
Okay, good. It really just building personal relationships. asking questions, discover what their wants and needs are. Because the truth is, if you know enough about what their situation is, you can either identify exactly why EXP is perfect for them, or you can identify why it's not the right fit. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But looking at the opportunities that agent attraction provides us as agents and our families is really incredible. And I haven't capitalized on much of that either, other than what I have within my own team. But I certainly have had a fair amount of EXP conversations with other agents all over the country, not just locally here. And I think it's zero different from your business selling, you know, listing and selling homes. Is you don't know how to help somebody until you ask the right questions and build some trust and rapport. I know that there's some online systems out there that people are pitching that is again kind of like lead generating from the business side of things. I just have found that building relationships is, for me, the only way to go.
That's awesome, dude. And then Robin, look, I know a lot has been said already, guys, about, you know, building relationships with people. Is there anything that you've done, an event perhaps, or, you know, a way to jump in with your local Facebook groups in your areas? What is it that you're doing to bring value to other people so that they start the question with you about talking about EXP?
You're talking to me?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, excellent. So I do about 80% of my business from Facebook, like no paid ads, just being present in groups and interacting and networking. And I do the same thing with agent attraction on a local and a global basis. So just engaging and reaching out to help people. And then just recently I did do a would you like to know how to, you know, do Facebook without money and get business kind of post in one of the groups, and received several folks responding. And so I've begun the conversations with them. But I think with just like with real estate, it's about being intentional on whatever you're doing. If you're focusing on agent attraction, then, you know, do it. You know, focus on it for 2 hours a day or whatnot. But and then just being real and authentic. I've also been taking local people out. We're meeting for coffee or a walk or a yogurt, where I'm like, we're not talking EXP. We're just building relationships, and EXP will come. So yeah, so I'm just being very intentional with my choices.
That's awesome. I'll wrap up with some of the stuff that we're doing right now. Webinars are really great, guys. I mean, think about it this way. If you want to attract all the buyers in the world, ask yourself, what keeps a buyer up at night? What is it? Is it, oh my gosh, I've sold so many houses? Nope, they don't care about that. Is it, oh my gosh, you know what? Our team was the number one. Nope, they don't give a crap. What they care about is this market about to pop? That's what many buyers are thinking right now. So answer that question and you will have all the buyers paying attention to you. What do agents wake up and think about at night? Most of the time, it's not stock. Most of the time, it's not any of those things that we talk about a lot here. It's, I just need to learn how to grow my business in this particular way. And Robin touches on that, and you can actually give to them. If you host webinars on those types of things, you will be in a better place to get a lot of the agent's attention, and then you're in conversation with them. So that's what's been good for us. Guys, we got about 6 minutes here. Just want to kind of go through, jump in as you would like, if you would like to share anything from the audience. If you guys have questions, I saw this, someone asking, is the market about to pop? Go ahead. If any of you guys want to answer that, we got about 6 minutes to go through, and then any wrapping comments, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
I think the question regarding the market being ready to pop, I certainly think that is going to be hyper local, maybe regional. In my tiny market, no, I don't believe we're anywhere near any kind of bubble conditions whatsoever. If anything, we'll just see a tapering off of demand. But somebody in a bigger market might want to speak to what's going on there.
I don't see any popping going on around here. We are so far behind the 8 ball on inventory that we may level, like days on market, like you talked about, might be lower. I think prices might level, but pop, nah, I don't think. And I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, Fort Mill, South Carolina. I don't see anything happening anytime soon for this part of the world.
I agree with
Yeah,
Robin.
ditto.
Being outside of Washington, D.C., I totally agree with Robin. I think if anything, closer to the D.C., it just naturally stays hot, just because of all the good people that actually work in Washington, D.C. However, the further you go away from D.C., I think that we may see some flatlining a little bit, which I think is nothing but healthy for the real estate market. I don't think we're going to see anything pop unless there's some crazy administrative change or global policy that gets everybody riled up. But other than that, I think it's full steam ahead. Make as much money as you possibly can and give great service while you're doing it.
All right, guys, appreciate that. Thank you guys in the audience so much for hanging in with us. This has been a pleasure to moderate this panel. I really appreciate you guys going on Facebook, Instagram, following those guys. Give them a follow, give them a like, friend them over there. Find them in your local networks if they're a part of your network in EXP, whatever it is. Follow them on Workplace Chat. You have so much opportunity to connect with some guys who are really willing to share. Jeff, I'm gonna hand the crown over to you for awesome invitation to help people out with KV Core. That was a solid power move and a real example of the culture of the Icon Group. So thank you for that, guys. I hope you guys have an amazing day today, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
David. Thanks, David, for moderating. Thank you, buddy.
So much. That was awesome.